Welcome back, Year 12 Global Politics. Today we will be looking at national interests. When we study national interests, we need to know that there are four of them. That is national security, economic prosperity, regional relationships, and international standing. The national interests are essentially what the country wants. When we look at factors, which is another part of our course, the factors are why the country wants this, or their motivations for achieving national security, economic prosperity, regional relationships, and international standing. Then when we look at our national interests, we need to be evaluating them. So we need to be understanding how they have been effective and how they have been ineffective. So that's basically our key knowledge and skills. So let's get into what national interests are. This is a mind map that another teacher created, but I think what it does really well here does show a bit of a visual about what our four national interests essentially mean, as well as providing a definition from our glossary as to what the definition of national security is, what our national interests actually are. If you ever are stuck for the definitions, my advice would be to always go to the VCE Global Politics Glossary. It does explicitly state what all of our national interests are, as well as definitions for power and foreign policy, as well as every other key term in our study design. I would highly recommend going to that. So let's get into what national security actually means. So this is from the VCAR definitions, but essentially it is the national interest of a state to maintain its sovereignty. Traditionally, this term refers to the protection of state borders from intruders, but has evolved to include other types of security, such as resource as environmental security, that are necessary for a state to maintain sovereignty. So I think here, really, we are here moving beyond that traditional kind of type of security, that it isn't just about maintaining your sovereignty, like for China, protecting the South China Sea, trying to prevent Taiwan and Hong Kong from seeking independence. It is about protecting themselves from external threats. What is different about China, though, from other countries in the Asia Pacific is that China is reliant on regime security. They need their people to still comply. And that's why regime security is also something important to be talking about when we look at China, that they need social cohesion, they need unity within the country, and security is not just external, preventing external threats, but it's also internal threats. So regime security, some of you may have heard of this before and others may not have, but regime security is important for China as an authoritarian state. It's about the Communist Party maintaining power and maintaining its legitimacy, not only within China, but throughout the world. As it is a one-party state, they need to maintain support from the population. This is where things like the grand bargain can come into play. And the grand bargain is really that China will continue to have support from the people as long as the Communist Party provides the people. So regime security is part of China's national security. It's part of social security for China, that they not only need to maintain their sovereignty, but they also need to protect themselves from threats internally and maintain the regime and maintain the Communist Party in power. So what I'm going to do here is actually go through some examples of national security, as well as factors, and then also talk about how they have been successful and maybe not very successful in achieving some of these national interests. So what you'll see here is what China is doing and why, which is the factors. Okay, so what is China doing to protect national security? What are they doing to protect their sovereignty? Well, the first thing is that they have increased their military budget by 6.1%. So in 2021, Xi Jinping announced that he would increase the military budget and bring it up to 208 billion US dollars. This was the highest military budget they've had. Currently, there are around 2 million servicemen in the People's Liberation Army, and it can protect China internally and externally. So, why? Why is China doing this? Well, they've got land borders amounted to 22,000 kilometres, bordering 14 states, and 4 of them are nuclear capable. We've got Pakistan, India, North Korea, and Russia, who are all nuclear powered, or all have nuclear powers, and so China needs to be able to protect themselves from their powerful and sometimes hostile states such as India. So China needs to make sure that they are continuing to grow their military to protect themselves. So another example of what China is doing to protect its national security, this is more about protecting their internal security. They are the re-education camps in Xinjiang, and China's crackdown on the Uyghurs. So in Xinjiang, there are a large population of Muslim Uyghurs. The Chinese government has argued that these people are extremists and have blamed many of the terrorist attacks in this area on these people. So what China is saying is that they have, so these people have committed various terrorist attacks. In 2014, I think it was the highest year of terrorist attacks. And so because of this, they have started what they call a war on terrorism, the People's War on Terrorism. And so China has created these camps to re-educate these Uyghur people and to prevent them from, committing these terrorist attacks. China has been, in some ways, very successful in quashing terrorism. In 2014, they had a terrorist rating of 6.29%, and then in 2019, that dropped to 3.59%. So I've kind of already, I think, mentioned almost why they've done it. The terrorist attacks really have been why this has happened in 2014. Also, China has created a campaign called the Three Evils that they are trying to crack down on. And those three evils are separatism, religious extremism, and international terrorism. So they believe that the Uyghur people fit into the three evils. So that's why they are going after them. Finally, we have the militarization of the South China Sea. So China has continued to expand in this region. They believe it's important to. The reason why they're doing this is it's part of its sovereignty. In their white paper, they have said that, it was a 2019 white paper, they said that the CCP will safeguard its national sovereignty and territorial integrity, and that the South China Sea is an inalienable part of the Chinese territory. In 2021, they built 12 military bases and they allowed their Coast Guard to fire on foreign vessels. There's frequently in the news disputes in this region. So there's lots of evidence that you could find about the South China Sea. And the reason why China is doing this is geopolitical assets. 1/3 of the world's shipping goes through the South China Sea. $3 trillion worth of trade, as well as it's rich with resources. So for China, this is an important region. And also their history has shaped why they are responding in this area. They believe that they have control over this area because of the 9-dash line, which is basically a map that they have found that says that, because the 9-dash line makes it part of their region. So that is why China is doing this. It's important to evaluate, so to be able to say that China has not been successful. And we have seen China fail in this area. And how they have failed, well, how they have maybe been challenged. In Hong Kong, in the protests in 2019, that was quite a threat to their national security because it did mean that there were people that were uprising. So that social security that they are aiming for was undermined during those protests. So that's been a threat to their security, as well as the ICJ ruling in 2016, which said that China had no historical claim to the South China Sea. So basically, it's the international community not recognising China's sovereignty in this area, which would definitely undermine their achievement of national security, because national security is about maintaining sovereignty, and the community did not believe that China had control of this area. We have continually seen countries try to exercise some control in that area. Recently, the US and the Philippines conducted war games in that area, so that would also be a threat to China's control. The US has also conducted freedom of navigation operations in that area. So, it does assert the belief that the international community don't believe that China has control over this area. So, I hope this helps you understand what national security is. In the next few videos, I will talk about what economic prosperity, regional relationships, and international standing are, as well as what China is doing to achieve it and why they are going about achieving it. And then also, I guess, how effective they've been. So I'll see you in another video. Bye!